Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Report, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some of the stocks on the move today here in Europe. I'm Caroline Hepker with Tom McKenzie. We're joined by Bloomberg reporter Chloe Millet. Good morning, Chloe.
Good morning.
ABN Amro, their new CEO, has got some big plans. What's the market reaction?
Yeah, very good market reaction. So yeah, some big changes at the Dutch bank with the new CEO who's joined back in April. So she announced plans to cut 5,200 jobs over the next few years to cut costs and boost profitability at the bank. That represents about 20% of the workforce. So that is a major decision. And then that's part of a broader revamp that includes ambitions to strengthen its position in the Dutch retail banking space. Part of that was the NIBC bank deal that it had just a couple of weeks ago, and also to become a top 5 private bank in Europe. So it also wants to get rid of some unprofitable exposures. So it has reached an agreement to sell its Alfam subsidiary, which is a personal loan business. So it's making a lot of different changes. It also provided some medium-term targets, targeting 2028 revenue of more than 10 billion euros, which analysts say is quite achievable. Some other targets, like the return on equity, look a little bit more challenging to achieve according to analysts. But overall, the market is responding very warmly to all those plans, and particularly this plan to cut about 20% of the workforce.
Yeah, the CEO, Marguerite Berard, she's a French executive, and apparently she's also learning Dutch. So she's got a lot to do at the bank.
AI an impact as well in terms of some of the jobs. It seems there were some of the efficiencies they hope to create. We're switching focus to the DIY parent company of a lot of these DIY stores like Screwfix and Brico and is it B&Q as well?
Yeah,
B&Q falls under Kingfisher.
Yeah.
So what is happening with that stock?
So it raised its earnings guidance for the second time this year, and it also had third quarter sales that were also ahead of estimates. So quite good performance across the business, but specifically in the UK business. So as you mentioned, B&Q and Screwfix are the two under that Kingfisher banner. There was good performance in the big ticket categories and also in e-commerce. So the things like click and collect have worked out quite well for them. That offers perhaps an interesting counterpoint to the subdued consumer sentiment that other retailers have mentioned over the last few weeks. Remember ASOS, JD Sports mentioning all of that. Maybe people are more willing to buy a big sofa rather than maybe shoes and clothes from ASOS and JD Sports. But definitely very positive morning for Kingfisher. Okay,
interesting. Let's think about defence stocks. They've actually been having quite a difficult month over the last month. Rheinmetall, how are they faring given the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the discussions around whether there might be some kind of peace plan?
Yeah, they're doing a little bit better today. So just yesterday they had quite a tough day, as you mentioned, quite a tough last few weeks as well, because the prospect of peace in Ukraine was kind of growing, but now it's looking increasingly fragile because just yesterday, just overnight, they exchanged some quite heavy fire, Ukraine and Russia. There were air raids on Kyiv and assaults on southern Russia. So the hopes of a peace deal just yesterday were quite high. Negotiations were happening in Switzerland on the different terms. There was an upcoming meeting between the US and Ukraine, but now it's looking a little bit more fragile, and therefore defense stocks are up again. So we have seen a strength in Rheinmetall this morning, but also Hensoldt, Rank Group, etc. But yeah, as you said, overall defense stocks have been on a downward trajectory, and that has been particularly bad in recent days because of that progress on those peace talks. But obviously hostilities are picking up, and that is making things a little bit better for them.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.